probably have met the devil a few times. Don't wish I
Met him twice.
You've met him twice?
Personally.
How'd that go?
Not well the first time, because I wasn't even a seminarian. I was discerning. I just came out of my life of sin. I joined Our Lady of Victory, like I mentioned, and this little old Polish priest who became my spiritual director. And I remember one day I went in and I said, this job is killing me because, it was a sales position. I was entertaining big shots at all fancy restaurants every night, drinking. I said, I can't balance this with trying to live this new life. It's not working. So he said to me, well, let's do this. Why don't you, for the next month, you can go call ahead or go to meet to the restaurant early and tell the bartender when you order a drink that it would be just club soda, no vodka, but you would order it publicly and then they won't know. I said, I can do that. So he said, no alcohol for a month.
No alcohol for a month. I left the church at noon, resolved, and saw a handsome man in a custom-tailored suit staring at me. In New York, that's an attack. I turned to leave, and he ran up, grabbing my arm. "Let's get a drink," he said. A chill shot through my body. "Get away from me," I spat, and changed directions, hurrying to my apartment. As the doors closed behind me, I looked back. He was just standing there on the sidewalk, laughing. I ran back to the church and told my director, "I told you you'd have a target on your back." When I asked if it was who I thought, he nodded. It certainly seemed so. I was terrified. I hadn't signed up for this. The second time was years later in Miami. A friend had brought me to Nikki Beach, a glittering, inappropriate place for a seminarian. Two women with me started gushing about a handsome man across the deck. I looked, and it was him, shirtless now. He walked right up to me. "What are you doing?"
"What are you doing here? I thought you were going to be a priest." And he goes, "This is my territory. You shouldn't be here." And both the girls got flipped out. They were like, they had the scare mechanism.
Like the face that I'm making right now?
Yeah, literally like, danger, Will Robinson. And Christine's like, "Get the check." And she threw money down. She's like, "We're out of here." And we left. But like when those things happen, God allowed it,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there.
Way off in the back, in the cut, in the sticks. We go out there, it's pitch black out there. We get to this ranch style house and it's got a little porch light on the side. And in the back, behind the house, is a dark greenish colored barn. So, okay, we get there, my partner and I get there, and I can't remember who went out there with me. It was 2007. So we get there, we talk, and everything is cool. And so the partner says, "Okay, cool, everything's good. I'm gonna go ahead and go." He left, but I'm trying to watch the game, right? Because he's at the game on the TV. So I'm watching the game, I'm listening to him. I'm watching the game, I'm listening to him. The Bears are screwing up, typical Bears. But anyway, so he says things like, every time she comes here, she brings that evil with her. This was
brings that evil with her. She's into dark stuff. I'm half listening, half watching the Bears mess up on TV. My partner leaves. I wrap up, and as I walk outside toward my car, I hear something huge moving. In the faint porch light, I see a tall, muscular creature, front much taller than the back, with a long, smooth snout. Not a horse, not a moose. I get in my car, and when my headlights hit it, the snout looks like a Doberman, almost like an Egyptian Anubis. I started backing out. This thing moves from behind the house, big, muscular, long, thick hair, and it begins galloping after me. I'm doing 40 to 45 miles per hour, and it's keeping up easily. I turn on every light I've got, high beam spotlights, blues, and I can see it clearly in the rear view. That Doberman-like face, long hair whipping as it runs. I hit the road, punch it to 65 to 70, and it still is gaining on me. When I made a hard left turn, it tumbles, but not like a normal animal. It rolls, reanimates almost instantly like a machine, and keeps coming, like the droids from Star Wars. Eventually, it starts falling back at about 80
as I'm
to 100
gaining
yards behind.
ground on it, and I'm looking in the rear view, it's about maybe 80 to 100 yards behind me, but I could still kind of see it. As it's running and running and running and running, it looks like it stands up. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I thought I saw. It looked like it stood up. It looked like it was running like a human. And it's like stopped and it stood there. And as it was standing there, as I'm looking, because I keep in mind, I'm trying to look at the road, look at this, because I don't want to wreck out. So as I looked one more time, it looked like it was standing there, and it looked like the silhouette of a woman. All black. Like it had no features, it was just all black. With that long hair. It was just standing like a very tall, muscular woman. And it didn't dawn on me until, I don't know if I'm slow or what, but it didn't dawn on me till years later that when he said she brings that evil with her and she's into very dark things, that this could very well be something paranormal.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm Bishop James Long, and I serve as an exorcist for the United States Whole Catholic Church. And as of today, I performed 33 documented exorcisms. I was on the Ghost Adventures, the Bobby Mackeys, and the Legion of Exorcists show. And about 20 years ago, I was in the paranormal field helping, obviously paranormal teams work demonic cases. And there was a gentleman who loved going around the paranormal conference circuits, if you will, and he would do paranormal presentations, demonology presentations. And so I had a case that came across my attention, and I knew I needed help because I wasn't going to do this by myself because it was a violent case. And I contacted him and said, look, I could really use your help. And, it's in your neck of the woods, so would you be willing to? And, oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, Bishop Long. No problem at all. I've handled plenty of cases, he said. So I picked him up. It was about a 45-minute drive, and I could tell almost immediately he was nervous. I'd already sent the case files, but the more I reminded him of the details, the more jittery and unfocused he became. When you deal with serious demonic activity, you have to stay grounded, so the red flags were obvious. By the time we arrived, he looked like he had 5 energy drinks. I told him, if you're not comfortable, stay with the family. I'll handle the rest. No. I've got this, he insisted. We went upstairs. The hotspot of activity, people had been scratched, bitten, even shoved hard enough to leave a hole in the wall. As soon as we stepped into the main room, we heard a disembodied voice, a deep, loud, guttural growl. You hear it with your own ears, not through equipment. We began the litany of the saints for the minor rite of exorcism. The growl erupted again, closer this time. He looked at me with eyes as wide as headlights, his face drained of color. Well, what do we do now? He whispered. Stay focused on the litany, I told him. But he couldn't. He started trembling, overwhelmed with fear, then suddenly bolted, sprinted down the stairs. I had to stop the rite and chase after him. When I reached him, I said, what's going on? You told me you've handled cases before. He said, I mean, I've had cases.
You said you've had all these cases. And he says, listen, I've had cases before, and I've never had anything like this ever before. I didn't think any of this stuff actually exists. He said, as far as demons, he said, yeah, I maybe hearing noises here and there, but to actually hear that type of growl, that was right next to him, that freaked him out. I said, well, that's the demonic cases. That's to be expected. And it affected him so much he quit. I mean, he quit the field altogether.
Tender County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road?
What the?
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road. It's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am. I just turned on my bed lights for my truck, and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir. When you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
I didn't realize until afterwards that I had said that's not human on the call, because it was just the first thing I started screaming, because I was terrified. I didn't have my firearm with me, nothing. All I had was a wood splitting axe. So that's all I had.
I was hearing shit go off in there. And I just didn't like it. I was looking at the cameras inside those rooms and I wasn't like seeing nothing move, but I was hearing noises and shit. And then I look up at the cameras, I'm flipping through cameras on the different floors, right? And I see this motherfucker sitting in the middle of a hallway in a chair.
Then I saw him, 6th floor, sitting in hallway chair, then walking into the restroom. Badge's log showed no one in the building but me. I went up. The chair was still there. The restroom was empty. Every cubicle downstairs still had its chair. This one came out of nowhere. I took the stairs down. A door slammed above me. I yelled, trying to sound bold. Another slam, closer. I looked up and I saw a pitch black figure clinging to the railing. Then thump, 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 falling down the landing towards me. I ran, shoved through a door, held it shut, heart hammering. The thumping stopped on the other side. When I backed away, the door...
I slam it shut and I put my hands on it. And then whatever was coming down there stopped on my fucking floor. And I'm looking through the goddamn glass. And I'm like, alright, you made your point. I'm gonna leave you alone. And then I step back from the door. And I'm walking toward the other stairwell because I don't want nothing to do with that shit, right? So there's another stairwell that actually goes down for the public area. So I'm walking away from that fucking door, from the stairwell, and right when I get to the stairs, my hand touches the railing. That door flies the fuck open from the stairwell that goes down, and I'm just like, holy shit! I ran down the stairs, I went towards the office area, and I sat there, and I was just listening, like just listening to like if anything's coming, and it was total silence for the rest of the night.
I bought this land out here a few years back, and the property was cheap and all. It's a good location. I figured I could move my trailer over here or build me a little house or something. And I was out here checking it out one day. Parked my little car up yonder by the road and walked down to check out home sites where I could put the trailer and the well and the septic and all that. And I'll tell you what, I had a little shotgun with me, snakes and all, and I heard this noise back by my car. So I go over there to look at it, and there's this big thing over there by my car. And I said, well, what the hell is that? Maybe it's one of them panthers I keep seeing out here.
Maybe it was a panther or a huge dog. It was on all fours, 3 or 4 feet at the shoulder, thicker than anything I'd ever seen. The light was fading, everything turning purple and gray. I got closer, and that's when it stood up. It just unfolded. 7 feet tall at least. Not a bear, not a man. A wolf's head on a man's broad, fur-covered body. It turned and stared at me with these sickly yellow eyes. My blood froze. I dropped my gun without meaning to and ran for my life. I hid behind an oak, listening. Nothing but crickets. When I crept back, it was gone. My shotgun was still there. I grabbed it, dove into my car, locked the doors. As I backed out, the headlights hit the woods, and there it was. It charged, slammed into the side of my car so hard the whole thing rocked. I floored it all the way to the road. Later, I found a huge dent in the passenger door, like something solid as a tree trunk hit it. That wasn't the only time. One foggy night on Highway 11, I saw a creature lopping across the road. I slowed, and it stopped in my high beams. Same damn thing, standing on 2 legs. It snarled, teeth longer than my fingers, then leaped into the ditch. I don't know what it is, but it's not just...
I'll tell you what, I don't know what it is, but it's scary. Lately, since we started seeing these big old wolf-looking things out here, to tell you what, we've got animals mutilated. There's cows with their whole bellies ripped out. There's dogs with their heads ripped off. And I lost 3 dogs and a sheep last week. My neighbor had half his head of cattle just shredded. At first, we thought it was like the alien stuff you see on the TV, but then they kept seeing this like giant dog thing, and you could hear it howling off in the woods, and the animals all start panicking. My neighbor down yonder had 7 of his goats killed in one night, and then my other neighbor had a few of his cats come up missing, children come up missing and mutilated off in the woods, and we thought it was a serial killer, but we don't know what this thing is. It's
Okay, so let me tell you this crazy experience I had this weekend. So I think it was like Saturday night. I was chilling in my car, and I think it was like maybe a little past midnight, maybe 1 in the morning. And so I'm sitting in my car, I'm just chilling there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna drive around, play some music, and put the windows down and let it air out, because, you know, the weather's getting nice. So it was nice that night. Of course, somebody pulls up as I'm talking. Anyway, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna air out my car. So I start driving, and you know, I'm new in this area because we just recently moved, so I don't really know any places to go except for this one park. So I was like thinking, should I go to this park or at least drive by it just so I have time to air out the car? And for some reason I had like an off feeling. So I had this like off feeling about going in that area. So I'm listening to my gut and I'm listening to my intuition. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go
close by
to that park.
It's always given me a bad feeling, a real gut level warning. So when I passed the turn for it, I kept going, heading towards the next town instead. I ended up in a quiet neighborhood, blasting my music too loud, feeling guilty. I turned on my GPS to take me back home. I followed the directions without thinking. That's when I realized too late that it was taking me along the back road of the park. The trees started closing in as I drove down the narrow road. My stomach just dropped because I couldn't turn around, so I kept going. It was so dark in this back road, so I flipped on my high beams. That's when I saw it. Just off the road, a bony, hunched, human-like thing. It turned and looked right at me. I'm not crazy, I swear. In the glare of my headlights, I watched it change. Its form seemed to blur and shrink, and suddenly it was a deer. Standing there, still looking right at me.
I watched it transform into a deer, and then the deer was looking at me like, I didn't stop the car, of course. I kept going, but when I saw that, the freaking fear that took over my body, and I just like, my heart was pounding. I literally started shaking. I was like, no. I blast the music, and I'm just screaming the lyrics of whatever song to distract myself and try to make whatever I just saw realize, like, oh, I didn't see anything, leave me alone. I didn't see anything. And I was about like 7 minutes from home. So I get home, I get out the car. I obviously put the windows up. I jump out the car, I run inside, and I pray and I go to sleep. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
Did a police, fire, or EMS? I'm not real sure, ma'am. I just watched the biggest critter, but it smelled real bad. I'm a homeless female. I live right in the middle of the woods. 151 to the north of Claver on 1604 was lighter. This big thing was 75 feet away from me, smells awful, devoured a whole deer carcass, and then took off and, like, screamed, screeched, and took off across the street. And I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm dead serious. It was something very big, a lot bigger than me, out here. So, you thought somebody should know. I really don't know what you can do about it. How long ago did this happen? I want, like, immediately, like, I just, yeah. Well, I don't know if animal control, I mean, it. Okay, again, now tell me, where was it? This is at 151 in Calaga? Okay, yeah, like, the light at 151, this up from Calaga on 1604 or 1604 split, and you can get off on the access road to Calaga, or you can take 151, right, that light right there, and yeah, right in there. It is a very large, hairy animal of some kind.
They used to camp there. The husband and the wife used to camp there before they even had their child. Okay, it's on the border of Pennsylvania, next to some creek. Okay, So they had a pickup truck with a cab. The kid used to sleep in the pickup truck, the cab's pickup truck. The parents would sleep in the tent. First day they went exploring. The mother stayed behind. She wanted to wash the dishes, so she goes to the creek to get some water. Now, I don't remember how many feet are in between the two sides of the creek, but it's pretty far. And she sees this beast, this being that she's never seen before.
On the other side of this wide creek, she saw this beast, a creature she has never seen before. It terrified her so badly she wanted to pack up and leave right then. When her husband came back, she was pale as a ghost. He tried to calm her down, telling her it was probably just a coyote or a wolf, just trying to explain it away so they would enjoy their vacation. But that night, she was proven right. She woke up hearing this heavy panting. It was so loud it echoed. She shook her husband awake, and now he heard it too. Remember, their son was still out in the truck. The husband had a little .22 rifle he called his pew-pew, but he said later he didn't think it would have done anything to that thing. He started yelling, "Hey, get out of here!" There was a scuffle, and then nothing. The next morning, the father went looking around, and he found footprints, not bear prints. These were the size of a flat griddle, a frying pan, huge. He covered them up. He didn't want to scare his wife more, and I guess he still wanted to believe it was nothing. He probably now regrets that decision every single day of his life. Later, they all went fishing at the creek. The mother was on one bank, and the father and the son were on the opposite side, a little ways apart. The father saw his son's fishing pole on the ground and said, "Hey, pick up your pole." No answer. The mother, she had a bird's-eye view. She saw the creature approaching her child from behind. She was frozen, and her son, he was just standing there, frozen too, like he was mesmerized by its eyes. She finally started to scream, trying to get across the water, but it was too late. It grabbed her boy like it was a football. It ran off on 3 legs, so unbelievably fast, all they could hear were their child's screams. And then suddenly, silence. She ran for the state police. He stayed searching frantically. The cops, they looked at these 2 grieving people like they were crazy. They interrogated them. They didn't believe a word. But then they found these huge footprints. And they found the little boy, mauled, ripped
And
to
then
pieces.
found the child, mauled to death, all of his skin. So, what do they tell the parents? You're not telling anybody this. You're going to say a bear mauled your child. You are not putting this story out, and if you do, you're going to prison.
About 25 years ago, my mom and I were driving on Highway 530 eastbound towards Darrington, towards my road, my godmother's house at the time. And we're just driving along, and all of a sudden, what looked like a huge dog, some kind of huge creature, jumped, ran into the road from, the south to the north, so going from our right to
It
left.
wasn't a bear, it wasn't a wolf. It was something else entirely. Massive, thick-furred, moving like a shadow. It lunged into the road right in our headlights. And then it did something that froze my blood. It rose. Not slowly. It just got up onto its hind legs, fast like a person. And it turned looking at us, and I'll never forget its face. It snarled slowly, baring its teeth that were long and sharp. Its ears were pointed but pinned back. I couldn't really tell its eye color, but I could tell the eyes looked shocked. We had startled it. It wasn't anticipating someone running into it. Then as quick as it had risen, it dropped down on all fours, and it kind of bounded off the road, not run. One powerful leap carried it off the asphalt, and it vanished into the dark on all fours. I inadvertently slowed down with my heart hammering. Then my mind screamed, "What are you doing? Don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop here. Drive." The rest of the drive was a blur of shaky breaths and exchanged glances. "Did you see?" Yes, I did. That was all we needed. At my godmother's, the words tumbled out. She listened, her face growing solemn. She was a native woman, and she told us of the Wendigo. For years after...
A native woman, and she tells us about Wendigo. I'd never heard of a Wendigo.
All of a sudden I heard this huffing, like someone running, but more like growling running. It was hard to explain. I looked and I saw a upright figure that was not totally human running at me. And so I took off running in the snow and I hit the driveway of the lodge. And this driveway was very steep. And what would happen is when the snow would melt, the water would go down and it would form ice. When I hit that driveway, I slipped.
When I hit that driveway, I slipped. I basically went tobogganing right down to the bottom. I actually went down through the door. It was on a hinge. And then I went to the basement because that's where I was staying. I hid in my room, which didn't have any windows, and I just sat there looking out the door, watching the sliding glass door to see if this thing had followed me. I didn't say anything to anybody. I thought, okay, you're coming off of a dope, man. You are. Something's wrong with you. You're hallucinating. This is in your head. I ended up going into town a couple of weeks later. I'm with this woman who had been with the coven a long time ago. We'd driven up to the lodge in this windy dirt road surrounded by forests. And I look and this thing is running alongside the car. And I'm like, I don't say anything. I'm just paralyzed in the car because I'm thinking, wow, you are hallucinating. This has gotten really bad. And then the woman, I won't say her name.
And then the woman, I won't say her name, looks over and goes, there he is again. And I'm like, you see that? So it comes out that she's saying there is a werewolf that has been sent to kill me because I've left the coven and I'm telling on him.
911, what are you reporting? I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog. Something killed your dog? My dog went flying through the air over the tree. I don't know how it did it. Okay. Damn it, I'm really confused. All I saw was my dog coming over the fence, and he was dead when she hit the ground. I didn't see any cars. All I saw was my dog coming over the fence. Good-sized man, or something. It looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just that it ran across the yard. Whatever it is, it's running. I couldn't catch it if I was going to chase it. But whatever it was standing up. I'm out here looking through the window now, and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better... Sure. See ya!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Oh, and the guy is on foot.
I don't know what... It's a big... real big person. That's all I can say.
Okay, but it is a person.
Yeah, I'd say it was a person, somebody really big. But he's all in black. He's all black and he's big. He is big.
I have a cousin right here in San Antonio, and she works at a fast food restaurant. She was working Halloween night from 8 to 2. All right, 2 in the morning. So she's like, dude, comes in a fucking guy, and she was like, he scared me. He gave me the creeps. No, what? She was like, we were not busy at all. It's like, mind you, he has a hoodie over his eyes majority of the time. She is like, he comes up to the counter and he's like, miss, I'm hungry, but I don't have no money. And she was like, well, you know what? I felt bad. Because I felt bad because I was scared of him. She was like, so I was like, fuck it. I told him, I'll buy you your food. So he orders, they make him the food. He grabs his tray and he goes sits down in the corner. She's like, I forgot completely about him, dude. She's like, I'm scrolling on fucking TikTok.
She forgot about him. She was just scrolling through TikTok. Then she checks the time. It was exactly midnight on the dot. She looks up because she had the feeling you get when someone is staring at you. And it was him. He was just standing right by the front counter. He says, oh, your soda machines are broken. Can I get a refill, please? She says, all right, and goes to get it for him. She still hadn't made direct eye contact. When she brings back his cup, he touches her hand, and then he says, you're going to be a really good mom. Congratulations on your baby boy. My cousin was confused. I don't have a boy. But you're pregnant, he insisted. You really need to be careful. You need to shield your boy from all kinds of weird things that are out here. They're out to get babies. After a stunned what from her, he pulled his hoodie back just a little bit. She said, fuck no. This guy was not human. She described that his eyes weren't round. They were like a diamond shapes, like a snake. Not like ours, a little circle inside a circle. No, his were just all black. She said he looked kind of like a lizard.
Circle, another little circle, another little circle. She was like, no, he didn't have that shit. It was just all black. She said like he looked like he was like a lizard or something like that. That's what she said. A lizard, not a wizard, a lizard. And she was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck it was. He was like, he grabbed his drink and he went outside. And I'm like shocked. She was like, I'm fucking shocked, right? She's like, because she's like, mind you, I had been feeling sick, nauseated, and I had been suspicious that I was pregnant, but I was like putting it off, like, whatever. She's like, dude, I took a fucking pregnancy test, and guess the fuck what? I'm pregnant. She's like, you're the first one I'm calling to fucking let know. She's like, but I'm freaking out because I'm scared that this fucking man somehow implanted an alien baby in me. I said, bitch, that man did not. You know who it was. No, but she's like, no, dude, I'm freaking out. Like, what the fuck was he? She was like, he was not human. Like, how did he fucking know?
Okay, story time. For those of you that have seen some of the shows with me on there, then you will know about the upright walking canid that Bluff charged me, or however you want to say it. So, the pin where that building is where the garden was at. So I had to come out here after dark to go turn off the water and everything else because we had let it run. I was standing about right here, and then right to the side of that trailer, other side of that fence, about 50 yards is where I spotted it. The trailer and that equipment was not parked back there at that time. It was all open. That's whenever it decided to stand up, because I could catch a whiff of it. The wind was from the south. That's south.
When it stood up, it
come
came straight at me, right to the fence line. I took a couple of steps toward it, dropped down to one knee into a shooter stance, and started firing. It thrashed around for a bit, and then finally got its legs under it and took off.
And took off straight that direction. About another 350 yards is an abandoned house with a building, barn, and a bunch of other outbuildings around it. That's where it took off to. At the time, I did not have permission to be over on that part of the property that is owned by somebody else. So, not one of those things of I could go pursue it if I wanted to without trespassing. On the same time, if you've ever dealt with predator hunting, if you shoot a wild pig or a large cat or anything like that and it's wounded, that is not the time you want to go into the area that it just ran into.
She was an 81-year-old woman who lived in Georgia. It was a somewhat rural area surrounding woods and such, but by no means was it the middle of nowhere, and by no means was there no one around. She did have neighbors nearby, and this woman was fairly spry for her age. She had a habit of going out in the morning to collect cans for recycling. I'm not sure if she was doing that for the money or she just liked the environment, but every morning she had a habit of going out and picking up cans. And then one morning, unfortunately, something got to her while she was out picking up these cans. She was found very badly mauled. And in this case, there was a law enforcement response, but beyond the first responders, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, rather than the federal government, was involved. It was known that they took DNA samples, they cordoned off the scene, and seemed to be paying a great deal of attention to this, much more so than if anyone had been hit by a car or some other kind of an accidental death. Natalie Adams was found in the ditch at 8:32 on a Tuesday morning. So again, we're with an early morning attack. There were no witnesses. No one saw anything. The body was very badly mutilated. We know that DNA swabs were taken, and we know that what autopsy results were released said that they believed it was caused by a dog attack and that the injuries were horrific. But beyond that, no dogs were ever caught. No one was ever charged. We have weasel words by the authorities saying autopsy results were consistent with a dog attack, but not saying it was a dog attack. In this case, the authorities put out baited traps and worked with animal control to play the usual suspects and try and round up a few dogs. Yet no one ever caught an animal that found human remains in its stomach. No one saw any dogs with blood on them. No one saw anything of that nature. We just have a woman who was going on her daily routine, suspected nothing, and bam, something got to her. The authorities themselves, the GBI, described it as a very unusual death, to say the least. And here we have a woman who's in good shape. This shouldn't have happened to her. If the media reports say she's killed by a dog attack, yet if a number of dogs had set upon her, why did no one hear anything? Why did no one see anything? Why weren't dogs seen in the area? And then we have a lack of follow-up from law enforcement. We know the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was there, not just the county sheriff, but state law enforcement officials. And there was also rumors that the FBI was present. So if we have just something simple like a dog attack, why do we have state and federal authorities involved in taking DNA exams? Why wouldn't it be a matter just for the county sheriff?
Monster Emergency, this is Kyle speaking. How can I help you? Hello?
Something just ran in front of us on the road. We're in the ditch. We rolled over.
How many people are in the car, and is anyone injured?
There's two of us. I don't think we have any injuries.
Is the car on its top or wheels or what?
No, it's kind of sitting on its side.
Hold one moment, please, while I contact emergency services.
Okay.
Okay, the state police should be on their way in a few minutes. Is everyone still okay?
Yeah, I think we're okay.
What ran in front of you? A deer?
I don't know what the hell it was, but it was big. It looked like a great big dog. Standing up.
Was it a bear, maybe?
Maybe, oh my God. Oh my God.
Sir? Hello? Are you still there? Sir?
You're fine, bear. And then it stood up. And when it stood up, that wall that it was near was 12, 15 feet away. And that wall was 8 foot high. And when it stood up, its shoulders were even with that wall. Maybe an inch or so higher. So we're talking 9.5 feet tall.
Its shoulders
or
were
more.
3.5, 4 feet wide. It was massively muscled. It was covered in hair, not fur, like hair on your head. And it was longer in the arms than on the rest of it. Its face was like a cross between a gorilla and what you would think a Neanderthal would look like. It didn't have a long muzzle, it was short. The nose was more gorilla-like. It had a pronounced brow, but it was hairy. And it was dark brown going to blonde at the tips. I stood there and looked at this thing for several seconds, and it looked at me. I could tell it was not happy, and it let out this screaming roar that traveled through my body. It took my breath away. It was so strong. I ran down that hill as fast as I could with my life on the line. I heard it crashing through the brush, and I heard it trip behind me. Its hands, they weren't paws, they were hands, hit the pavement, and it pushed itself up on 2 feet. It was on my tail. I ran that half a mile down that hill, and it seemed like seconds. When I got to the corner, I turned it and leaned into it like I was riding a motorcycle. And when I did, I heard it slide. It grabbed the back of my shirt and it ripped it clean off me. When I got to the house, I ripped open the front door, slammed it shut. My room was 3 walls of a glassed-in porch, just a 3-foot wall around it. The rest was glass to the roof. I dove under it, ripped my quilts down, curled up in a ball, and screaming and crying, freaking out. My dad ripped me out from under the bed, took me to the living room. "What's gotten into you, boy?" I told him something chased me home. I don't know what it is, but something chased me home and almost got me. It ripped my shirt off. My dad, this big Korean War veteran, walked over to the window. He pulled open the window in the living room just a little bit and looked outside. A shadow went by that window. My dad turned around white as a sheet. I mean, this thing would have been in full view of the streetlight outside across the road. I said, "I don't know what it is. I don't know what I did." And he said, "Okay, we're going to kill the lights. Everyone go to bed. Be quiet. We're not going to talk about this. This didn't happen." and we went to bed.
I woke up. I don't know what time it was, but I heard something outside of the house and I could see it moving outside of my windows. And again, 3 walls in my room were nothing but windows and curtains you could see shadows through. And I could hear it sniffing outside of my house like a bloodhound.
The man says that he's standing there and he sees a Native American walking by him with a huge plate of food. He says, "Where are you going with all that raw meat?" And the guy goes, no, I can't talk. He walks away and goes up to these cliffs. Well, the guy was best friends with the elders, so he goes to the elders and he goes, "Well, if you really want to know," he says, "do you want to see this thing?" And the guy says, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, we're going to go up to these cliffs. It's a big person. It's kind of like you and me, big, but there's hair all over the body. He's very kind. He won't hurt you, but we feed him." So this cattleman goes up to the cliffs and he sees this thing in this cave, giant, hair covered, no language, but they kept feeding him this food and it was very polite. So as he's coming back down the mountain, he asks the elder, "Where does this thing come from?" The Native American says, "Once or twice a year, a flaming moon comes down out of the sky and lands in the meadow right here. And 1 or 2 of the crazy bears," that's what they called these, "comes out, walks like you and me, and runs up to the cliffs. And then after that, a man from the inside that kind of looks like you and me waves at us, gets back into the flaming moon, and leaves." And that was in a journal that was on TV in the 1960s. And I include that because there was questions about, well, how did these things get here? And if you think about the language that was used, it fits.
Whatever you pissed off down there's coming. And I saw it. Now, this takes us to October of '94. And it was the week before Halloween, clear night, full moon. And he went a little further down this road, Livingston Road. Pretty thick woods on one side, swampy on the other a little bit. He said, "Yeah, I want to go check out this area." So we pull into this lot and he wanted to go check out this swamp. He walked down that trail going to the swamp and he's probably about 100, 120 yards away. He wasn't far. Well, he gets down by that swamp area and you saw something. It was white. It was, I guess it was probably laying down or whatever in the tall grass. Dave went down there and we saw this thing kind of perk up. It was on 4 legs. It jumped over the tall grass, not all of it, it was probably about 15 feet or so. And it landed behind him. So Dave, he turns around, it startled him. He heard it and it took off back towards the swamp. Dave comes running up. He cleared the guardrail. I've never seen the guy hurdle anything. He's scared. We got just a little out, he's probably doing 40. And what I saw was, whatever it was, decided it was gonna chase us. And I said, "Dave, you gotta move. Whatever you pissed off down there's coming." And I saw it ran down the trail, jumped over the guardrail, cleared it by probably 10, 15 feet easy. And it caught up to us. Never saw a face, never saw eye shine or anything like that. He takes off and it kept up with us for probably a couple 100 feet. And then just darted off and back into the woods. And that was it.
In early 2016, my pipeline maintenance hours got cut after I butted heads with my boss. Then a massive gasoline hit the news and suddenly he needed me back, offering time and a half overtime to build retention ponds around the clock. The first night I saw my coworker Kevin walk into the woods near the porta potty. Minutes later he came sprinting back out, pants around his knees, terror all over his face. He jumped in his truck and took off. Then we heard it. A high-pitched screech that stretched and twisted into a howl. Not a wolf, something different, similar to like a werewolf out of a movie. I needed the hour, so I stayed, sleeping in my truck between shifts. At 6:45 a.m., I jolted awake, wide-eyed and absolutely terrified for no reason. I couldn't explain it. Through my windshield, I saw it. A wolf-like thing walking on 2 legs by the porta potty. It bumped it, stood there, then vanished into the trees. I cracked my window and smelled the gasoline, so I knew I was awake and I wasn't dreaming. The next night around 4 a.m., all the floodlights went out at once, even though the generator kept running. Then came a growl, louder than the machinery. I saw it standing about 25 feet from my coworker Don, 12 or 13 feet upright with orange-yellow eyes. Don turned, saw it, and ran. My buddy Chris froze, dropped his flashlight, then bolted too, literally running on his shoulders when he tripped. The thing just stood there watching us panic like it enjoyed it. Then it moved. It shifted its weight and exploded forward. One massive leap took it from the center of my headlights to the edge, and then it was gone. Every single worker fled the site. When my boss called, I told him we had a werewolf problem. I expected him to lose it. Instead, he calmly said, "Okay, I'll take care of it." Like, it was unusual. He acted like I just reported a flat tire. The next morning, private security showed up, men in tactical vests with rifles. My boss told us we couldn't talk about what we saw, not because we were crazy, but because those creatures had been around since the pipeline was built, and the company, they knew. He handed out about $15K in cash. Taking this money means you're keeping your mouth shut. We finished the job with armed security. We never saw them again.
I had a horse boarding and training facility here in Grand Marais, Minnesota back in 2001. I had a boarder who wanted to go out for a horseback ride. And I was riding a very young green horse who hadn't been out of the arena much. And I thought it would have been a great opportunity to get this horse out and about. I didn't think my horse could go travel the distance that my boarder wanted to go, which was basically around the entire lake we live on, and that's an 8-mile long lake and a mile wide at its widest. So I decided that I would go a quarter of the way. We decided to head out on our way, and all of a sudden we could smell death, like the smell of a rancid deer times 3. Like it was like
That's when the air turned
horrendous.
sour with a horrendous stench, like a rancid deer times 3. Suddenly on my left at the tree line, right beside my horse's rump, an obnoxious sound erupted. A huge beast jumped up from the brush. My heart started pounding. I turned and looked. My eye level on horseback was directly looking at its chest of whatever this thing was. I know moose and bear. This was neither. All I could think was, I need to get out of here. I frantically tried to get Bo to run, terrified he'd spook and drop me. But Bo kept wanting to turn around and look at it. The creature, it started getting closer. Finally, Bo took off running, and as he did, the Bigfoot ran right alongside us in the woods, but it never broke onto the open trail. It stayed in the thick brush, grabbing young birch trees, snapping them as it moved. The sound was incredibly loud, trees cracking, sticks breaking, brush crashing. It sounded like a dozer coming through. The whole time, Bo would hesitate and slow, wanting to turn back, and I'd urge him forward. I kept thinking, why isn't it coming on the trail? If it had, it would have caught us for sure. But it used the trees, maybe for momentum, grabbing one, running, grabbing the next. It kept up with us through the brush for what felt like a solid mile. When we finally reached a road, I could still hear the snapping and cracking up on the hill to my right. It was still following. I got back to the barn a complete wreck, shaking. I told everyone I'd been chased by a moose.
Chased by a moose. And today, that story of me being chased by a moose still floats around. I'm still asked about being chased by the moose, and it wasn't a moose. It definitely was, without a doubt, I believe, Bigfoot.
The mud was another enemy. We were stuck in it, Russians and Germans at war, back and forth in the woods west of Minsk. Gain ground, lose it, endless. It began when our guards began disappearing. Not deserting. A deserter gets shot. This was quiet. A man standing watch, fog in his face. You look away, look back. Gone. Just a rifle in the mud and his cigarette still burning on the ground. Command said it was nerves or German infiltrators. Then after rain, I saw the tracks. Wolf. A big wolf. The track came towards our camp on 2 legs, then dropped to 4, retreating back. My blood went cold. I showed the commissar, who responded by grabbing my coat. A bear. It was a bear, he hissed. You say anything else, I shoot you. I stayed quiet, but the men knew. During a mortar barrage, a scream cut through the noise, wet, short. When it stopped, I ran towards the trench. It was Sasha and young Yuri. They lay in the trench, heads torn off, not cut, ripped. Sasha's shoulder was also missing. Leading away was one clean wolf print. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. We were the cattle. A few nights later, I was in an observation tree. Silence. Then a wet slosh. The smell, fur, blood, and rot filled my nostrils. I saw it. It stood at the tree line, very tall, almost twice a man's height, hunched, watching. Its eyes glowed yellow, making their own light. I aimed my rifle at it, but couldn't move any further. It tilted its head like a curious dog. Then it lowered down to all fours and vanished toward the German lines, fast but silent. Later we were captured, given a choice, a bullet or a German uniform. We chose the uniform. They whispered also, werewolf. A German officer showed us one of theirs found high in a pine tree, gutted. It eats Russians and Germans the same, he said. It does not care about war. It fights for its belly. A few days later, a few of us were ordered to retrieve an airdrop by the swamp. When we got there, it was there. It stood in open water, daylight scratching itself. It saw us, then rose and roared. We fired everything. It sank straight down and disappeared. A German soldier threw a grenade right where it sank. The swamp churned from the explosion. Nothing. We turned to leave, but one of my former Russian allies ran for the trees. We let him go. He was young. But before he got to the tree line, the werewolf creature rose behind a log and grabbed him. It lifted in the air and bit down on his head. This was too much. We turned and ran like frightened children. That was what this thing was. A child's monster brought real in our war. That thing didn't hate. It didn't care about flags or war. Our guns and ideas meant nothing to it. We were just noise. We were just meat.